Hello everyone. In this session, we roll straight into good mead. If you remember, previously we had defeated the Verbeeg, its Verbeeg mate, and a gigantic ogre who had stolen... Oh. Hold on. Spoiler alert. If you are a player who's going to be playing in Rime of the Frostmaiden, this is the time to stop this video. If you are not a player or a DM or just someone who's interested in listening to this story, you may continue listening. Hello everyone. In this episode, we just roll straight into good mead. If you remember, previously we had fought a couple of Verbeegs and an ogre, and we had rescued the mead that was stolen from our very precious good mead. So with vengeance satisfied in our hearts, avenging the death of the townspeople of Goodmead, Kendrick Rylesparrow, we grab our casks of mead from the Verbeeg lair and start heading back to Goodmead. The journey is uneventful, but when we roll into town, we see that there's a tiny boy, Toodle Freaks. He's a young blonde boy of Goodmead who's playing around, doing something that kids are up to. I don't know, whatever it is. Val grabs him and sends him out with a message that the mead is back and we have avenged Kendrick Rylesparrow, the former town speaker of Goodmead. I guess there's an abandoned or semi-abandoned temple of Tempest in this town, but nobody actually ever worships Tempest, so Val has sort of taken it over and has been trying to spread the religion of the Moon Maiden. But Val, with his -2 charisma modifier, is not the most convincing person. However, people like him. He stays there, stays warm, worships to the Moon Maiden, does things for around the town. That's about it. That's my character, by the way, Val. With the mead casks on the cart, we roll over to the temple steps, where Val stands up on the steps, waits for the townspeople to gather, and then delivers this impassioned is not the right word, I would say dispassionate speech with his deadpan expression of how the former speaker has been avenged. He displays the severed head of the Verbeeg on top of his halberd, also sends the mead back into the mead hall, and to be distributed among the people of town, and one of the casks were to be taken to be delivered to Caer Dineval as the regular mead supply. Olivesa Unampur, who lives in the town, actually sidles up to Val and lets him know that the vote for the new speaker is tomorrow, and she has been voluntold to run against the town bully Shandar Froth. This turns out to be something that Val does not like at all. Also, Olivesa does not want to be the next town speaker. She doesn't like power, she just wants to keep her head down and do her work. So she suggests that Val should be the next speaker and nominates him so. During the whole motivational speech from Val, Shandar Froth had also been trying to bask in some of the shared glory and trying to insert himself into the celebrations, but thanks to Vast, Danai Savrus, and Lady Raven, he got shut down pretty quickly. Val obviously is not very interested in politics, and his main idea right now is to give his former friend Kendrick a Viking funeral. This did not go well. Val and Raven put his body on a boat, dragged it into the middle of the frozen lake, found the area where it was water, and tried to let the boat set sail, while the very, very, very dexterous Don Kiro awaited with his lit arrow to shoot at the boat. So yeah, Val went through the ice into the freezing river, which, by the way, is one of the worst ways to die. However, Raven, with extreme heroics, tries to rescue him. Vastana Savrus also shows up trying to help them, instead goes through herself, and is all wet. Raven unbelievably saves both of us, and somehow manages to pull us away from the ice into the temple. This was followed by lots of nudity, as Val just drops all his clothes and starts drying himself off. Lady Raven and Vast decided that it will probably be better to find a more personal room somewhere in the back of the tavern and dry themselves off, which also I don't remember if we indulged in that kind of nudity or not, but there was definitely a lot of mentions of Rocknethi Valtivar's naked countenance. Val decides to stay in at the temple, and he's in a brooding mood while everybody else decides to go to the mead. In the tavern, there are a lot of people who are drinking the recently rescued mead, making merry, and they also meet 3 dwarves who are out-of-towners, temporarily staying here. One of them is just constantly eating the whole time, and the other two are telling stories of this red hairless yeti that they came across, apparently took a swipe at the eating person, and then left. I have to say that at this point, our DM, Theron, did such a fantastic job of retelling this story. I could completely imagine that somewhere in rural Vermont, in some tavern or pub, there's someone trying to pass off incredible stories like this. While these stories and merrymaking was going on, Val had asked her Raven if he could talk to her privately, and she granted him his wish. She met him at the temple, and they had a very meaningful tete-a-tete. I am quite sure I'm saying that wrong. You know what I meant. Now, if you remember, Val has a secret. Ryan or Julie, if you are listening to this video, fuck off now. When he was a kid, he was thrown into the sea of moving ice by his mom as a sacrifice to the Frostmaiden. He was pulled out by a druid whose name was Oyaminartok. And since he has had a very similar experience today, where he went through the ice into freezing cold water and then was pulled out of it by Raven, he, with his vast intelligence, thinks that Raven is just Oyaminartok in disguise. He was a little disappointed to learn that no, she's not Oyaminartok in disguise, she is just Lady Raven. He apologizes to Raven for his mistake and actually reveals to her why he thought so. He tells her that his earliest memory is that of watching his last breath bubble up out of the sea of moving ice as he sank deeper and deeper until a giant hand of a druid came down, grabbed him and pulled him out from sinking. Watching him being vulnerable and open, Raven also decided to share her deep secret. Once again, if you haven't fucked off yet, Ryan and Julie, get out. She revealed her secret, that she is actually a paladin of Orel. Hearing this, Val divulges vast wisdom to her and says, "We are not in control of the hand we're dealt. What we choose to do with that hand is what we control." Then he kisses her hand and gives her his own bracelet full of moon and star charms, hoping that the Moon Maiden will find some time and take her under her wing. At this point, they head over to the mead hall. The hangry dwarf, who claims to have survived the hairless yeti attack, starts laughing at some random joke and then starts convulsing. And we can see that something inside his chest is trying to burst out. Very, very, very alien. And as he collapses onto the ground, a slod tadpole bursts out of his chest and just starts running around. We make short work of it. It dies pretty quickly. However, Vasdanai, Savrus, and Egric investigate the scars of this dwarf. They realize that these scars are very similar to the one that now adorn the chest of Val. Val had told them previously about an attack from this red interdimensional toad demon, and they weren't very sure what this was, but now they know. At this point, we decided that there wasn't much that we could do, so we headed back to the temple and tried to sleep. However, as everyone is getting ready to sleep, Val doubles back to the mead hall to catch the barmaid Luna alone. No, he does not have ulterior motives, as he has to assure her that he does not wish to mate with her. The reason for this is, well, one, Luna is new in town, he wants to know her. Also, he has previously had a dream where he saw some beautiful middle-aged woman asking him to find the ruined hall of the frost giant Jarls and consecrate it to as a temple of the Moon Maiden. In his dream, the woman looked exactly like Luna in real life, so he had to go ask her. Luna did not understand what Val was really talking about and told him that the closest thing that she can think of that could have some relation to Val's dream was a ruined elven temple in the Lonely Woods that has something to do with some unlocking secrets. She wasn't very sure. She doesn't know why Val dreamed of her, why anyone would think she has any connection to the Moon Maiden. But that's sort of where we left that conversation. I felt like I could not get anything else out of her, so I went back and started to fall asleep. As we all fall asleep, that's where that session ended. Also, Vaz had a dream that our characters don't know of, so I'm not going to say anything about it.